My idea was to find an endeavor, find an adventure, a race, a seemingly impossible task, and go ahead and put my leadership philosophy into practice. So our goal is to row these 3,000 miles in 30 days. People that have any idea of what that is seem to think that that's absolutely insane and impossible. The best teams in the world, when they set a goal, they usually can accomplish it. The alternative is to plan for something less and do exactly that, and then wonder when you get to the finish line if you could have done more. Created a new spectrum, I think, which is this elite athlete that comes from the traditional rowing background. It's definitely different than rowing on a river. It doesn't matter that they haven't been on the ocean, it matters that they understand what pain is all about and they know how to fight through that. I could be wrong. Talk to me after this race, and if we finish in 50 days, then everyone can say I told you so.
The waves that we were seeing a couple miles outside of La Gomera was nothing that we were going to see out there. Those little 5-10 foot waves turned into 30 or 40 foot swells, and it didn't take more than a half a day for Nick to start taking a turn for the worst.
He would stop, he would throw up, he would keep rolling for an hour or two, go back to the cabin over a day or two, which is longer than I would have been able to do it. He was no longer able to come out of the cabin.
And then finally, it got to a point where he couldn't even move.
He was so dehydrated and so malnourished that he started to convulse and shake. It was obvious that there needed to be an emergency evacuation.
We knew Nick was going, but I was very surprised by the fact that Greg came up to me and said, I'm thinking about getting on the evacuation boat as well. And he said, I'm going to be honest with you, everything in my body right now is telling me to leave. When you hear somebody say that, it's really tough to tell someone, well, you need to suck it up and stay if you feel your life's in danger. And as a skipper, you have a responsibility to make sure that people don't feel like that.
Oh God! Stop it! Come over here, Nick. Please help.
When we decided that evacuation is going to happen, I thought the race was over.
I said, how do you feel about sticking this out? It would just be me and you. And he said, Jay, we can't do this by ourselves. I said, yeah, we can do this by ourselves. And I said, think about the glory that you could do 2-man rowing a boat that's supposed to be rowed by 4 across the Atlantic Ocean, 2,400 more miles to go.
He's one of my best friends. He's like a big brother to me. And I said, I will stay here with you. And that's when he gave me a kiss on the forehead, and I was like, all right, this is it.
It was the grandest gesture that anyone has made for me. About a week after we had had the evacuation, about a week of us struggling to figure out what we're doing, rowing a boat that's too big for us, it's manhandling us, and the nights that are just punishing. I think we wanted to just chuck it in, just be done with it. Tom comes out, he can see I'm just miserable. The first thing he says when he gets out of the cabin is, what do you want for breakfast? Which to me was like, what are you, out of all the things you could say, why are you asking me what I want for breakfast? But there was a complete mind shift right there. And so we decided to take 30 minutes off the oars, not rowing, that morning when we ate our food. We sat there face to face, and instead of complaining about our miserable plight, we started laughing about it. Oh, guys, you should have seen what happened last night. I had a flying fish hit me right in the face. And then the next morning, we decided to take that 30 minutes again. It became our ritual. Those 30 minutes is what we lived for. Those 30 minutes ended up being what saved us. The difference between barely surviving this race and switching gears to being, we're still in this race. We're gonna still do well, because those 30 minutes were continually recommitting ourselves to each other.
We answered the question why we're doing this. We answered that question, which was important, and we made it. And I'm glad we did. Keep going.
It's been 51 days.
We're rowing in the last mile and a half into the harbor. I'm rowing. I can't see what he can see, but he's telling me, I can see our families, and there's so many people up on this cliff, I can't believe it. And I can see the finish line buoy.
It was emotional. The amount of people came out, the amount of boats out there, the support, everyone that met us at the mouth of the harbor, made us tear up the moment we realized what's happening. made everything worth it. Having him there, he's a rock. He's the Superman. He handled everything like a rock star, and I was proud to be on that boat with him. I was proud to share those moments with him. It was just amazing being out there doing something like this.
American Spirit over the line today in 51 days, 8 hours, 42 minutes.
We made a lot of mistakes out there, and one of them was being audacious enough to think that we could have such a strict plan that we were going to go off of, and that the ocean, that the Atlantic and the elements were going to allow us to just go with our plan. You don't get to pick your cards.